Hello. So I'm not sure if y'all can hear me. I'm just testing again this software, but I do have the training. So I'm gonna talk to you guys. Hopefully you can see. Hold on. Let me do something real quick. We are live. Okay. So I'm testing out a new software. If you guys can hear me, that is a software that actually allows you to do virtual conferences and things like that. We have used for a very long time a different software that has helped us to do some great things, but I want to test out just some different ones just to see, what we're gonna get from it. So, anyways, that's what we're doing right now with this. So let me go ahead and let's see. Share. We should be able to hopefully. Okay, let me go ahead and see. So I'm going to check on my phone as well, just to see from the phone. And then we're going to get into this training that I have created so you guys are able to podcast interview access. Okay, it's live. Looks like it's live. Okay. All right, next. So anyways, again, hopefully you guys are hearing me as I get ready to go into here. I just want to be able to see from my phone if we're able to actually see everything. And then, all right, let's see. 1, 2, mic check. Schedule home. Doesn't look like it is live. Let's see here. Lounge. Main stage. Start the main stage. Okay. All right, let's see here. I want to do that. Okay, so I don't see that we are live. So let me just go over here and make sure. Here we go. Upcoming and lounge registrations, private groups, details, live events, offline. Oh, it's not online. Okay, so let's see. Save. Oh, here we go. Live. Save. All right, so hopefully it is now live. Let me see. Okay, we're going to see here. Hopefully this is live. Show watch page. Alrighty. So I'm hoping that you guys are able to see. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Yep. Watch. Yes, it is live. Okay, not bad. So, hopefully you guys can see this. Let's see here. Dashboard 2 online. Okay, we are now live. Okay, send. Registrations. We have 7 in the pipeline. All right, let's see here. Okay, great. And I'm trying to see how to see everybody that is on, or where can I see everybody on a chat. But let's see here if there is a chat. Lounge, private, dashboard, details. So again, y'all, we're about to get started. What time is it? 12:11. Give me about 3 more minutes, and then we're going to get started into this presentation. Hopefully you guys are able to see. I know that you guys can be here on the main stage, but I'm wondering if it'll allow you. Hey, Tiffany. Awesome. Yes, I see your chat just popped up. It's pretty cool. I actually am liking some of the functionality of this so far. I'm not able to, I don't see a chat though, on here. I don't even know. How did you do that? Oh, you just type right here in the message. There it is. Hey. Okay. So I see it. Very good. Hello, Lady Brenda. Hello. Oh, yeah, and then it pops up on the screen. Okay, that's fire. Cool. Okay, well, we're going to test out this software because, as y'all know, we have so many different virtual events coming up. And I just want to see, just different softwares that we might be able to use that can make the experience even better. What's cool is that right now, as we are on the main stage, of course, everybody can't come on camera. But once we go to, if we want to go hang out in the lounge, you'll be able to open up on camera as well. And then if y'all see, I don't know if you guys are watching from your phone or if you're watching on a computer. On your phone, there's I just made a little world map pop up, and you can click on the world map to actually see where everybody is chiming in from. So when we start having international people all over the world, will be able to see where they're chiming in from. So if you are watching on the computer, I'm assuming maybe the world popped up like on the right side or something. You might have to refresh your screen. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get started with this presentation. I think, let's see if we have more people that are here. And we're going to do a training while you guys are watching as well. So let's get into this. Okay, so yeah, it shows like all the different people registered and everything. Okay, hold on one more time. What time is it? Okay, we have 2 more minutes. Let me just make sure that, let's see, registrations, export, cool. We can also, of course, integrate this into the BPC system, which is going to be very cool. Hold on, let me see. Okay, yep. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and let's see here. They didn't put, so it did not require. Now, when y'all registered, did y'all just join in? How did that work? Because on my phone, all I did was just, I don't even remember putting my email, but somehow it has my email. Okay. How did y'all do that? Okay, so let me see something. Okay. When you joined in though, did you submit an email or did you just, because I don't remember putting an email. That's the funny thing. I do not remember. And I see some people did not put their email. So I'm wondering if there was like something. Phyllis. Okay, Gmail login. Oh, okay. So it's like it'll automatic. Oh, that's good. You put your email? Okay. That's good too, though. If if you're saying like with the Gmail login, because that means like then it's like it's probably automatically remembering your details, right? Okay. Okay, anyways. And you know what's dope about this software that I'm testing out? So the software, I'm going to show y'all at the end. But what's dope about the software is that you could even create an on-demand webinar with this. By the way, I found this software. They have a lifetime membership right now. So once I'll share the lifetime membership with y'all too, if y'all remind me. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen to get into this presentation. We're going to be running a challenge for next month. Right now in Book Profits Club, we're running a challenge for... so I'm testing out a new software. That look blurry. It look okay on my phone though. Okay, so right now in BPC, we are running our conference challenge. I don't know how many people are actually doing it. I know I am. But we're doing a challenge, and the challenge is to get 10 conferences to reply back to you so that you actually can send them your book as well as speaker sheet and introduction letter. Next month, okay, Brenda, you are? Okay, good. So next month, we're going to do a podcast challenge. And so it is going to be strictly focusing on getting on some podcasts, right? So let me go ahead and pull up this presentation real quick, y'all. Hold on. Replace the asset. I didn't know you could do this. It's pretty cool. Okay, cool. Okay, so this is the presentation. So everybody should be able to see it. This is a training that I brought up, and I feel like this is going to be an amazing training. Okay, I can't wait for you guys to get this. So we're going to definitely go into this one. I'm just trying to make sure. Hold up. That y'all are seeing it. Oh, it's delayed. Hold on. Let me move this forward. Okay, cool. Okay, great. Y'all can see. Okay, cool. So mastering podcast interviews for sales. So this is the dealie. Why am I creating this presentation? So first things first, I'm going to pull up this this real quick on the thing. This poll. Let's see here. Let's make this poll. Make it live. So I want you guys, if you see the poll pop up, go ahead and answer that poll. What is your goal with being on a podcast? So this is a really cool thing that you guys can also do with the software. But the reason why I did this, we're doing this presentation, is because going into 2024, we're going to be focusing on some specific things for our authors who are speakers and coaches. Okay. So if you have been a part of the Book Profits Club family, you know our mission is to show authors how to be able to promote, profit, and get their books to perform. We want to get them exposure, get them experience, and also doing it in the right environments. Okay. And so I probably can tell typically based on the answers that you guys see, where one answer is getting exposure, one is leveraging my book. And, you know, definitely the goal here of, again, is to be able to get you guys to that next level of making multiple streams of income. So hold on. She says she can't see anything. I don't know. Can y'all tell Jessica in the chat to click on watch? This is dope though. Because y'all know the problem that we have with AirMe is that sometimes people just cannot see it. So we're going to go over into the lounge though, if anybody is able to get on camera, and see how that works after we get with this presentation. But yeah, so I put together this because number one, I know for a fact with proper podcasts, being on the proper podcast, it will truly help you to get more leads and be able to build your business. And so, you know, again, our goal is to be able to get you guys that exposure and experience, all while being in the right environment. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this that I've created. So first of all, and then what I'll do is I'll send this PowerPoint to you guys, those who are registered, so that you don't have to try to take screenshots. You'll get the PDF, the full PDF. But number one, why you should be on podcasts. So one of the things that we teach in the Book Profits Club is that you want to be able to every month focus on at least 2 OPPs, and OPP stands for other people's platforms, right? And one of the platforms that you can focus on is podcasts. You know, getting on a podcast is absolutely a way to get in front of a new audience that could allow you to be able to build your database, which we should all know by now. Excuse me, guys. Woo! That building up your database is going to be your number one task, right? As an entrepreneur, our number one task should always be every single day focusing on building up that database. Hold on. I'm talking too hard now. Let me see. Click on watch at the bottom. Maybe she don't see that. You gotta scroll down. This joint is dope because a little pop-up. Click on watch at the bottom. I don't know what it looks like on a computer. On a computer, let me see. Because I can't tell if, I click on preview. Yeah, just click on watch. Y'all, this software is fire. Y'all like this software so far? This software is dope. Okay, let me turn off the poll. See, I can turn off the poll. I can add another poll if I want to. This is dope. I wonder what the reports look like. Okay. All right. Let me get back to this. Okay. So why being on a podcast? So first of all, it's definitely a great way for you guys to get opportunities to build up your database. Number one thing that we want to be doing, right? So we want to, number one, of course, expand our reach. Now, this is the deal. You want to you need to also know who is your audience, right? So like expanding your reach is great and all, as long as it's the type of people that you're wanting to do business with, right? So very important that you want to find podcasts so you can expand your reach, positioning yourself as the expert. So when you get on a podcast, you're not getting on the podcast because you necessarily just want to get up there to talk. No, you want to be seen as an expert in a specific space. Even if, let's just say, for example, Like I was brought on a podcast out here in Houston last week, and we talked about everything, but I made sure that we still had some conversation about books. And so while I was still seen as an expert, I was also given an opportunity to show other sides of myself so that people could get a chance to even relate and connect. Because remember, people like to do business with people that they know, like, trust, and relate to. Also, podcast, building up relationships, okay? Listen, when you're on a good podcast, they should be able to ask you some questions that allows you to really build a connection with that person. And for me, especially if it's a good podcast, man, and you guys do, really, really connect, there's opportunity for more. Again, I'll just use this podcast here in Houston. This guy has a podcast that definitely I could see where I could bring some additional value, but they already have an amazing set and they've been able to really get some dope people on the platform. And so now I'm like, okay, I'm going to bring good value so that possibly we might even be able to do some additional things moving forward. Content repurposing. Now, this is one thing that I am going to tell you guys that I am now focusing on making sure that I do. So first and foremost, when you get on a podcast, by the way, if you've ever been on a podcast, type the number 1 in the chat. If you've ever been on a podcast, type the number 1 in the chat. Let me know, because this is the deal. A lot of times people are not using the content from the podcast to repurpose and build value. I don't even care if that podcast has 1 viewer. If it's a quality interview, you can take that content and repurpose it. And there's so many different softwares out there that now allow you to go in, take a previous interview, take that link, whether it's on YouTube or whatever, and you can create shorts and be able to use that content to show that you're being interviewed. Also, what this does is it creates recognition, and recognition is always recognized. So when other podcasts can see short clips of you maybe dropping some major bombs and nuggets, guess what? They're going to want you to come on as well. And then driving traffic and sales. Absolutely. Listen, I have been on some podcasts where it don't matter what the viewers are. I was on a podcast recently with a guy who I have been following for years. He's a public speaking coach, and he does a lot of events. And I pitched him. So he's a part of our podcast list that we have. I pitched him. His team must have did their research, and then they finally had me on. This was like a couple of months ago. And being on his podcast, I had several people that reached out to me to want to be connected and work with me further. So it definitely can drive traffic, and when done the right way, it will allow you to continuously. Now, this is the thing you also want to remember. When you are getting on a podcast and you're looking to drive traffic, which should be your number 1 goal, because 9 times out of 10, the people that are listening to that person's podcast are not in your email list, right? Not the majority. So your goal should be having them to listen to you to convert them into leads. A lot of times people get on these podcasts, child, they be thinking they're about to sell a ton of books or sell something. When we must understand is that we want to create content so that we can build up our database, the most valuable asset that we can have. But how do you drive the sales and make it what it is called forever green? So a couple of things, I'm going to talk a little bit about this, y'all. But when I am looking to get on a podcast, I never talk about like an event that is not either an annual event, like something that I do every single month. Does that make sense? So my goal is, again, to drive traffic. So if I talk about an event that's coming up like Author All-Stars, and they're like, well, do you have any upcoming events? I say Author All-Stars. Well, when somebody goes and watches this podcast in January, it's now no longer valid, and now I lose out on leads. So I never ever give information about an upcoming event. I have them to register for my free hook item giveaway, which is either an ebook or a masterclass. We won't get into that today, but once then they register, then they can get the details of any upcoming events. If they say, do you have any upcoming events? Man, thank you so much for asking. In fact, this is what you can do. I have a free masterclass that you can register for, where I'm going to teach you the steps of XYZ, thus and that. And then also I'm going to refer you to all of my upcoming events. So that way, when somebody watches it 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, the information is still relevant. Are y'all still with me? If y'all are with me, go ahead and let me know. Type with you in the chat, Hopefully you guys are still with me. All right. So Those are why you want to be on podcasts. Now, knowing your target audience. So have you guys ever been to an event where the speaker was speaking very specifically about a thing and you felt like they were talking directly to you, right? Or you ever gone to church and you said, man, that sermon was directly for me. The truth is, and let me tell you something, this is no shade to my pastors, right? But a lot of times pastors know who their audience is. This is why when they have certain conversations, they know exactly what pain points to talk about because they know what the majority of their audience is dealing with. And this is why it is so important that you guys have to also know the pain point of your particular audience. You know, when people talk about stuff like dealing with, y'all know, child, people hate when I say this, but I always talking about trauma, the word trauma. Y'all, I am dealing with trauma right now. Let me tell you what my trauma is right now today. My trauma today is the fact that I'm hungry as all get out right now. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to eat. I don't know what I'm about to eat. I'm starving. Also, another traumatic episode is that I was supposed to have a delivery that was supposed to be here by now, and it ain't here yet. That is traumatic. Another traumatic episode is that my car needs some fixing. I don't know what's wrong with it. Those are 3 different traumatic experiences. And so the conversation that I'm going to have to those 3 different experiences are totally different. And so while we're out here trying to talk to the entire world, we're wondering why we're not connecting with people because we don't know who our target audience is. And when you have an understanding of who you're speaking to, you're able to better communicate to them specifics. Does it mean that you may lose people in the process? Yes. But let me tell you something about being very specific and targeted with your audience, even on a podcast. The people that are dealing with that particular pain point and looking for a solution, they're going to be tuned all the way in, and your likelihood of getting them to convert, it increases substantially. Also, having an efficient resource allocation. So, for example, if I'm talking to someone about you hate to go as a female, as a single female, you might be, maybe your target audience is single women who are tired of, are ready for the soft era. That's a whole new thing, right? Being soft. And so you don't want to have to go get your car fixed, right? You don't want to do that. And so maybe you're going to be teaching women how to be able to effectively use their softness to get men to do whatever they want them to do. Very specific. Well, let's talk about the challenge of a car. So how can I create a resource so that you no longer have to worry about getting your car fixed, even if you're still single? What? That is very specific. But if I'm up here saying, well, I help you to overcome all trauma, the steps that I'm going to have to take to learn how to get a man to get me to do whatever I want him to do, even if he's not my man, versus the steps that I'm going to have to take to figure out what I want to eat right now are totally different. And so when it's now time to give the resources, nobody wants generic resources. People are going to be more likely to take action for something that is very specific about what the challenge and how to solve that. Does that make sense, y'all? And then higher conversion rates. Again, when you know exactly what your target audience is dealing with and you have an exact resource or solution, your conversion increases dynamically because people do not want generic answers to stuff anymore. People are tired of that. People want to know, look, this is my problem. What's the steps? I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's the steps, right? So knowing who your target audience is. Now, this right here, again, I'm going to send y'all the PDF so you don't have to worry about this because I'm not going to go through all of these, but creating a sales-oriented message, right? So for example, like limited offer, hurry this weekend. Now, when I'm on a podcast, I am not going to do it this weekend, enjoy 30% off. What I might do though, if I want to give an offer that is going to get people to take action, I say, listen, the first 50 people who listen to this podcast, not only are you going to get the free resource, but you're also going to get a free bonus gift. Right? You could say something like that. Look at this. Product benefits. Our cutting edge smartphone offers lightning fast performances, ensuring you stay ahead of competition and enjoy seamless multitasking. Guys, when you have a specific sales oriented message that says this is what our product is going to help you with, guys, let me tell you something. People are going to want to jump on it. So I give you guys some examples of just different things that you can actually use so that when they say, how can someone work with you, or what is it that you have to offer, it's not just sign up for my free email list. Don't nobody want to sign up for people's email lists anymore. People don't want to just be on your list and get a ton of emails. They need to get some kind of specific result. And so when you make that message on how can someone get, what do you have? What's the next step? You want to be able to sell that. You want to be able to give it to them. Now, again, for me, I don't like to do anything that's going to say something this weekend. I like to figure out ways to create it so that when someone watches it from now, years from now, they'll be able to get a deal, right? So just remember that. And so there are ways, again, that you can still push that, even the FOMO, the fear of missing out, right? Again, numbers. Okay, so make sure y'all plug into these. Now, let's establish a connection with the host and the audience. So this is important, y'all. One thing that I do is whenever I'm getting an opportunity, praise the Lord, to get on a podcast and be interviewed, I don't just like to show up to a podcast with not knowing anything about what's going on. I need to make sure the first thing that I'm going to do is research who the host is. I'm going to go to their gram, it's LinkedIn, Facebook. I want to see what they're talking about. I want to find their personal gram too. I like to really, really, really be able to connect. I love these pop-ups. This is so dope. This is so good. I like this software. Y'all like this software so far? I'm liking it, y'all. Okay. But anyways, you got to research the host. I can't tell you how many times by me being on a podcast and the fact that the hosts know that I knew a little bit about them. Like, let's just say they was posting something about their dog the other day. Like, girl, you know what? I saw you was posting your dog the other day. You will gain so much love. It's nothing like making the host also feel good about actually having you on the show and them possibly even wanting you back. Guys, do not just pop up on someone's show and you don't know nothing about them. You don't know nothing about their show. You don't know nothing about their audience. You're not reading the comments in the chat if they have any. Make sure that you do that. If by any means necessary, try to come early as well to create some kind of small talk as well. Because this is the thing. It's very weird. Like to go, I did do this podcast that I just did. Child, as soon as I pulled up, they was just ready to go. I was like, golly. Now, luckily, we had like a few minutes where I could talk to them, but it was awkward. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of awkward. I didn't. You might even probably see it. I don't know. Maybe as we warm up, because they started to warm up to me because they didn't really know like how I was going to be for the interview. But try to come early so that you can engage in some small talk. Unfortunately for me, they scheduled it like he wanted to schedule it right after I got out of church. So I ain't have no time to get there early. But anyways, make sure to use their name. Oh my God, I hate, and say it right. Like, Lord Jesus. Like, listen, people say Taraya all the time. And when somebody calls me and says Taraya, I know they do not listen to nothing I do. Because I say my name all the time, Taria Vision Avant. So when somebody shows me, when I'm interviewing them, that they're calling me Taraya, how do you think that made me feel as the interviewer? So think about it when you are being interviewed as well. When you have someone that's interviewing you, that the best word that anybody can ever hear is their name. So make sure that when you are being interviewed, that you're not only just engaging and creating energy and building great energy, but you also need to use their name. Hello? Okay. Personal stories. So sharing personal stories is so important. Hello from Scotland. Hello, how are you doing? So personal stories are always good, okay? So one thing that I would recommend is even if in the interviewing, they don't figure out a way to ask questions about like clients and things like that, try to figure it in, right? So they might say, well, what are some of the steps that you recommend that somebody wants to do, Figure out ways to tell stories. Don't get up on somebody's podcast and make it all about a research paper. It sounds like a research paper, right? People remember stories. Facts tell, stories sell. So make sure that you have a couple of personal stories always in your, your reservoir. in your magazine. You know how you had the bullets in the gun, the bullets in the magazine. Make sure you always got some stories ready to go. You don't always want to have the same stories though, because the thing about social media today, back in the day, you could have literally the same exact story. Like, Les Brown would do all the time, the same story. But now with social media, when it's a good one, honey, that thing might go viral. So you don't want to keep using the same stories all the time. You got to have some different ones in your arsenal. There we go. Arsenal. Don't be afraid to ask them questions. Like, make an interview engaging if you can. I have been playing around with that too. So when they, are asking questions, I might answer it and then ask them a question back. Well, what do you think? Right? Because now you're creating a twist to the conversation where many times people probably not even used to someone having them ask. By the way, like, how when they say, well, how you doing today? I'm doing great. Thank you so much for asking. I always ask it back. And trust me, if you know how sometimes people, y'all have been somewhere you say, well, how you doing? And they just act like they didn't hear you say how you doing back. I will ask it again. Do not be afraid to ask questions, create conversation, make it engaging, have a good time. Express gratitude. So another thing that I always like to make sure that I do is when I open up into a podcast, we start off I like to say, listen, let me tell you something. Well, I don't say it like that, but first, I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Okay. Listen, it never fails. It never fails that, when you show gratitude, that it does something to the listener. Not just the person who's interviewing you, but people love a grateful person. People love people who love to express gratitude. So remember that this is an opportunity. I don't care if they got one viewer. That could be one viewer whose life could be changed because you're on there. So always make sure to express gratitude. Now, the fortune is in the follow-up. So one thing that you also want to do is follow up. Now, one of the things that we're going to be doing for this podcast challenge, though, next month is that our goal is to be able to send them a copy of our book. But for some of the podcasts, you might not have to send them a copy. They might invite you to come and be on the podcast, but you still can follow up by sending them a copy of your book or follow up and sending them a card. There's so many resources out there that you can actually use where you can send them a card that says, thank you so much for having me on. It's the small things that actually do matter. Remember to be yourself. Oh my Lord. So this is another thing about me. So, I suffer from a challenge of what I like to call being sometimes socially awkward. I feel like sometimes I could be socially awkward, child. And, when you spend so much time by yourself and social media becomes like the way you communicate with so many people, sometimes when you get in those real live environments, like you say some of the weirdest stuff or the stuff that you've probably been holding in that you hadn't had a chance to talk about. And I remember always, like, sometimes when I would get on some of these podcasts and say what I'm going to say, to like, sometimes I would be like, oh, let me not get all the way myself. But do you know what? Let me tell you something about being truly who you are, even if it means sometimes that some people are not going to agree with what you say. It allows you to never have to work with someone where you always have to put on. Amen. It allows you to get clients where I could be on a Saturday right now with absolutely no makeup on and my hair in a poof ball, and y'all know me, and I don't have to try to dress up for this quick little test run through. Does that make sense? Being your absolute 100 authentic self will allow people to fall in love with the true version of yourself, and you never have to put on. And so look, I know some people whose mouths, child, they cuss like a sailor. Their opinions and thought processes is not what I agree with, but there are people who love them for that. And so never get up on somebody's podcast and try to code switch up and be something opposite of what you truly are because you want to be accepted. Bump that. Everybody type that in the chat. Bump that. We're not doing that. So bump all of that, right? Bump all of that. Okay. And then stay positive and engaging, right? So stay positive and engaging if, to the degree where it requires. I know they asked me the other day on the podcast, the first question they asked me, because that was one of the things we talked about a little bit on the small talk, because I was telling them how I thought Atlanta is very pretentious. And I am not the only person who thinks that Atlanta is. Are there some really good traits about Atlanta? Absolutely, yes. I love Atlanta for the reason why I love it, but I also hate Atlanta. Lord Jesus, I'm sorry for using the word hate for the things that I don't dislike, that I dislike about it. But you know what? There's always pros and cons to every place that you live, right? But guess what? Even in that, expressing like the pretentiousness of it all, I still found a way to also talk a little bit positively about what some of the stuff that I love with the A. But you want to stay positive, but you also at the same time want to be engaging. And sometimes engaging is controversial. Hello? Sometimes being a little controversial can also be engaging. Another way that I like to be engaging is like when I talk about get your stuff off of Amazon, right? Get your stuff off of Amazon. Now, I might even do a separate Amazon training with y'all to show, but I don't know, because I don't know if I care that much. But of course, if you want to do fulfillment by Amazon, that is different than being a KDB customer. So that is an option that you make my guy, I've never told y'all about, talk to y'all about, but it could be an option for many of you guys who want to have a fulfillment center to send out your stuff. But we'll talk about that later. Okay. So anyway, preparation. So we talked a little bit about this again. Guys, research the podcast, research the host, know who is interviewing you. Now, the only thing that I was surprised about is the people that were on the podcast for my interview, it was different people. And so I wasn't fully prepared. But what I should have done up front is said, who's going to all be there? What's their Instagram? Can I follow them? So that leading up to the podcast, they have followed me. They've seen some of the stuff I'm talking about. And it makes the interview so much more easier, right? Know what your key message is. Again, I know who I serve. I work with speakers and coaches who are authors wanting to learn to leverage their book to generate $10,000 a month, working 2 to 4 hours per day. Very specific. So when I am communicating, especially when we're talking about business, I know how to frame my messaging. Does that make sense? And so that also means leading up to, and by the way, regardless if they ask you or not, a really good thing to do for podcasts is to send them some questions that they can ask you up front and some bullet points, not like a long, like this irritates me too when people do this. I ain't lying, y'all. When I'm interviewing someone, they send me this long tail dissertation biography that's several hundreds of words long. Y'all, create a bullet point list that people can easily see your details and give them not these long ChatGPT questions, but very simple questions that are in alignment with the results. The reason why I say long, because sometimes ChatGPT will give you questions that are like 30 words. Like, what in the world? Give people short questions and give that to the people that are interviewing you, regardless if they ask you or not. Send it to them. Whenever somebody asks to interview me on a show, I'm going to give them my 150-word bio. I'm going to give them the bullet points bio, and I'm also going to have my pre-organized questions so that they can have something to go off of. Amen. Now, if you are virtually, y'all make sure y'all test y'all stuff out. Oh my God. Listen, I get on podcasts and it's like when we get on the podcast, y'all, I shouldn't be fixing my camera. Hold on one sec. Fixing my camera, fixing my mic. I want to test all of these things prior to. Show up professional. Show up ready to go. Leave an impression. And I'm telling you, so sometimes when I pop up on my interviews and I got my backdrop ready, I got my microphone ready, I'm in line because I've already tested everything out. Child, they be like, oh, you're not playing. Also, try to be places where there's no noise, no distractions, right? This is the thing too. I saw somebody doing an interview not too long ago on the podcast. Number one, they were in the car. Please don't do that. Or please don't do that if you can. Please don't be in the car. I actually had someone wanted me to interview them on their podcast, and she was in the car. I said, ma'am, I'm not about to do this podcast interview with you while you in the car. Because I want your podcast to look good. That's not what I didn't do it because I felt any kind of way. I want it to look good. I want it. The first thing we gonna think of, or the viewers are gonna think of, like, they in the car. How professional is that, right? But make sure that you are not somewhere where you're distracted. So I was watching a podcast interview one time, and the person was like talking to someone, and that's just was like, it literally threw off the whole conversation. And this is another thing. When it comes to the purple elephant in the room, when there is a purple elephant, people not listening to nothing you say. They only paying attention to the purple elephant. What does that mean? What do I mean by that? I mean that, for example, like if you are constantly looking off to the side and while you're doing your interview, or while the person is asking you questions and you're looking over to the side talking to someone, they're no longer listening to your response. They're literally paying to the fact that you are distracted. That's a purple elephant, right? When I'm speaking on stages, right? Let's say it's super hot in an environment, right? It's so hot. Everybody is fanning themselves. If I don't address that on the stage, that y'all, I am burnt. Anybody else in here burning up like me? Listen, y'all go ahead and fan yourself. And trust me, I'm on this stage, it's even hotter. So I'm going to address the purple elephant so that when people are in the audience, they can't sit there complain about what's going on in the purple elephant instead of listening to me. Does that make sense? So even, and let me just say this. Let's just say, for example, there is a distraction that is beyond your control. I see people do this all the time too. Like, say you got a kid, right? Your baby girl, baby boy walk into the room and you like, say, excuse me real quick, y'all, because anybody else working home with their kids? Okay, 1 second. Don't you see I'm on an interview? Please don't be a distraction. Go ahead and get on out and I'll give you a candy afterwards, okay? All right, love you, bye. See, boom. Instead of trying to, you know what I'm saying? Act like don't nobody see you over here on the corner talking about, right? So make sure that you find a good quiet place. Be prepared. Make sure, guys, that just in case there are some technical issues, that you have a backup plan. One example for me that where I have a backup plan for technical, like if my camera or something like that is bugging or my internet is tripping, I always make sure that my phone could be a possible backup plan for me to do an interview on. Typically, nowadays, the newer phone models have better cameras than many of your web cameras have today. So you can have that. Now, if I know that that's going to be a backup plan, guess what, y'all? Right here. Hold on, let me show you real quick. If my phone ends up being a backup plan, guess what? I'm going to have a stand. I'm going to have a stand so that if I have to get on my phone is going to be eye level and not me looking down at it on a stage. I also know if I'm going to have a backup plan, I've got a microphone that I can plug directly into the bottom of my phone. You see this? Boom. I can plug that in just in case. Who knows, the microphone, this one, act like it don't want to work that day, right? Because you just never know. So always have those backup plans just in case, okay? And please make sure that if it's like a new software or something that you have never used, you want to say, listen, is there a way that we can maybe join in a little early so that I can test to make sure I can connect? Things of that nature. Just be prepared. Show that interviewer that you are extremely appreciative, that you are respectful of the fact that this is an opportunity of exposure, and make it worth their while as well. Now, success stories. We talked a little bit about this again. You need to have like multiple. And this is the thing. It doesn't always have to be a success story of a customer or client that you have worked with. It could actually be a success story of somebody else that maybe used the product or service, or somebody else that has a similar story as you, somebody else who people know who also could be an inspiration. So one of the challenges that I want to express to you guys is have 5 to 10 success stories that you might have available when needed. No, you're not going to use all of the stories, but have them available so that when you are on these different interviews, you're able to talk about stories, because remember, stories sell, facts they only tell, okay? And remember, people want to feel like they can get those results. So the best way for people to feel or see themselves in the results is to use other people's stories. I don't like to always just use my story. I'm making sure whenever I get an opportunity to share stories of clients, to share stories of people who I know who are authors and speakers. I talk about Lisa Nichols leveraging her book, not Abundance Now, that's her latest one, No Matter What, to become the millionaire that she is today. We have Bishop T.D. Jakes, who wrote his book, Woman Thou Art Loose, which launched an entire movement, which put him he was not even a bishop when that book came out. Does that make sense? So I'll use different stories as forms of ways for people to actually feel like they can relate. Because if we only share everything at the top, if we only share the specific steps and things like that without giving people the opportunity to see themselves in it, child, they're not listening. Because stories sell and facts tell. Now, let's talk about this call to action. We about to get ready to wrap it up real soon, y'all. This is so important, a call to action. This is where everybody drops the ball. Not everybody, I would say about 95%. 95% of the people drop the ball at this point right here. The call to action, baby. First of all, Number one, get what is called a radio ready domain. It boils me when people use stuff like Bitly or Linktree or any domain where you did not go to GoDaddy or Cheap Domain or whatever domain hosting server that you use, and you did not purchase your own custom domain. Now, can it point to those links? Yes, if you wanted to forward to those links, that's fine. If you wanted to forward to, whatever page, perfect. But have a domain that you own. See, this is what's dope about the fact, like, for example, let me give you an example. When I first got started, my radio ready domain was abookin30days.com. Well, I don't really teach people anymore. We have a training course that shows you step by step how to write a book, but we don't do the book camps anymore. So that's not my major focus. My focus is showing authors how to create a profitable book and how to leverage their book, right? So I don't send people to a book in 30 days, but I do know that there are trainings from years ago where I was on podcasts where people are going to go to a book in 30 days. So guess what I'm going to do? I took that domain that I own and I forwarded it to the current now page. So when you own it, you can always shift it. But if you're sending someone to a Linktree link and Linktree decides that they no longer want to use Linktree anymore or go out of business, how many of y'all know any companies that have ever gone out of business? Hello? And now they go out of business. Guess what? Then that interview, that offer that you made is now no longer relevant. And let's just be all the way funky too. Some people don't even know how to use those links. Link, link.tre or whatever the domains and the subdomains and the prefixes and the suffixes. Make it easy. So radio ready means something that is easy to spell and easy to remember. Sometimes it might even be longer. Like, I want to stop being hot.com. I want to stop being hot.com. While that is long, I want to stop being hot.com is long. It's also very easy to remember. I want to stop being hot.com. I want to stop being hot.com. Who is going to forget that? Nobody's going to forget that, right? I would even purchase the wanna and want to, just depending upon who listening, right? And so a radio ready domain is easy. No hyphens, no periods, something that is just all one together and easy to spell. Like, for example, 10kbook.com. That's my domain. Well, because I know that some people might even spell 10, T-E-N, versus the number itself, 10, I have both of the domains. But they are radio ready. That way I don't have to even say 10kbook.com, the number 10. That's too much explaining. I just want to say go to 10kbook.com. Does that make sense, y'all? So radio ready domains. Do not give out multiple ways to contact you. This is what I see people do all the time. Let's just give a scenario. Let's say you're on a podcast and within the first day, over 500 people want to take action on your call to action in the first day. And you tell people you can email me or you can call me or message me on Facebook. That means you got people hitting you up on all different type of areas all over the place. Is that easy to manage? Anybody? Is it easy to manage 500 different emails, DMs, and or calls coming to you? No. That is not efficient. That is not an efficient use of your time. And so I do not give out multiple ways of people to contact me because a confused mind does nothing. When you start giving people too many options, they end up doing nothing. And I also make sure that it is very easy. So when somebody goes to my radio ready domain, it is sending them to a capture page where it simply asks, what is your name, email, and phone number? Name, email, and phone number. And then they're going to get a follow-up email and text message. But at least now I have them in my database and I can do automation. We've got some new stuff that we're going to be showing at the Author All-Stars Conference that's going to be showing the automation that's already integrated in with the BPC system, where people now can just simply have people join in and AI can start creating conversation with them. What? Yes. Okay, we're working on it. But remember, guys, keep it simple. Give the instruction more than once as well. So when someone says, hey, so how can someone get in touch with you? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. I have a free masterclass where you can register to get access access to my training where I'm going to teach you how to generate over $10,000 a month working 2 to 4 hours a day. The website is 10kbook.com. Also, when you go there, you'll get an opportunity to get any of my books and all the things like that, as well as my contact details. So if you go to 10kbook.com, you'll get access to that masterclass. So one more again, 10kbook.com. You see that? And remember, whenever you're on somebody else's platform, OPPs, other people's platforms, yes, it would be great if you could sell some books. But let me tell you something. I don't even care, just even if it's only $20 books. Everybody's not always ready to buy. But some people will want to be able to connect with you further. And remember, when you give people multiple instructions, sometimes they end up taking action not at all. And so I like to make it easy. So if you go to 10kbook.com, you'll at least put in your name, email, and phone number. And then it'll say, by the way, would you like to get a copy of my book? If they don't, they're still in my email list. They're now still a part of my database. And I want us to remember, guys, that on average, people need to be able to see you tell them to buy something 7 to 10 times. And I don't care what the product or service is. They need to see it. So many people end up losing so many leads because when they get on a podcast, their number one goal is trying to sell books versus trying to get leads. All right. And then you focus on the leads. So once they become a part of your database, then you nurture them. You email them every day. I recommend when somebody gets on your email list for the first 30 days, if you can, create a series of emails that they can get for 30 days. 30 days. And then after that, then what you do is you create an email that you're going to email out. Yes. You're going to email out, but it'll be something that you create daily. But the first 30 days, create a series of 30 emails that you can automate. And as soon as they join your list, they're going to get emails every day. And I know some people are like, well, I don't want to worry people too much. How many of y'all get emails? Hold on. Wait a minute. Let me just pull up my email list real quick, because I just want y'all to understand the companies that are making billions. So I don't even know how, but I am on the email list for this company called Fisher Space Pen. They have these really nice pens. Well, I'm probably because I'm in the book world, so I'm always looking for really nice pens for my clients, right? I get an email from them and a text message from them at least every day about the new pens they got. Thumbtack. Oh, well, no, that's because I'm on the thing. Home Again. I don't even know what Home Again is. I get emails from them every day. Let me see. Trishana. This is somebody that does funding every day. Office Depot emailing me every day. Etsy every day. Amazon Associates Program. They emailing me every day, multiple times. These are Bed Bath and Beyond. And so how are we supposed to compete with these companies if we're not willing to do what they're doing? At least emailing every day. There's no way you can compete with a company who has a whole machine on their back if you're not making sure to do what you can to stay in front of mine at all times. I do both. They get emailed and they get text messages. Now, what I don't do is I don't overwhelm with too many text messages, but you're going to get some text messages throughout that email list. So every now and then, like my goal is maybe 2 to 3 text messages when someone first joins my email list every single week. And the text messages are going to be simple call to actions. All right. And when you're on that podcast, offer something that like you can give away in exchange as well, special for the podcast itself. So you might say something like, listen, well, Taria, how can we get in touch? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. In fact, if you go to 10kbook.com, register for my free masterclass where I'm going to teach you how to make $10,000 a month working 2 to 4 hours a day, leveraging your book or your future book. Also, if you decide that you want to get a copy of my book, I'm going to give you a special deal. All you got to do is mention Speed Wealth. Let's say that's the name of the podcast. And put Speed Wealth in the coupon code, which by the way, our BPC system allows you to use coupons. So put Speed Wealth and I'm going to give you an additional $10 or $20 off for everybody that watched this podcast. You see what I'm saying? So now you're creating an incentive. And if it's one thing that people love is a deal. I'm telling you, people love a deal. They don't care if the deal. I've seen people drive across town because the gas was 10 cents cheaper. By the time you get to that pump, you paying the same price. I've never been that girl. I'm not going to drive across town. But guess what? And this ain't just, these are wealthy people too that do that too. Wealthy people. You know how many people go to Costco every day? Because they like a deal. You know how many people go to Costco every day? Because Costco does not have, I was watching a documentary talking about Costco and all these big major chains. Costco is not a store that's going to have the same exact stuff every time. They always have new things because people like new deals. Hello? So always offer a special if you can. All right. Fortune in the follow-up. There's 3 ways that you're going to follow up. Number 1, emailing. So yes, I believe that you need to email. And if you have a CRM like the BPC system, it allows you to customize the email so that you can put their first name. You can put information in there. If they fill out the form, and let's say they put the form in there and they tell you, let's say that you want to work with, I don't know, maybe you want to work with single mothers who live, in Georgia. Well, when they put in the form, they might put their city and state. And so you can say, hey, Joanne, one thing about being in Beaufort, or, you just insert the city, but you can make it custom. And this is what CRMs allow you to do so that now people can feel like, oh, you're talking directly to them. Phone call follow up. Now, the way you're going to do a phone call, or what we like to call is an interview, BPC interview, is you're going to ask them to get on a call or ask them to get on a Zoom. I like to follow up. So when someone registers for my free masterclass, my next step is to either get them to a webinar or to get them on a follow-up phone call interview. Okay. This is where you're going to make most of your sales in those follow-up calls. And then also a webinar follow-up. So everybody that joins my email list, you're then going to get an invite to join me for a webinar that we're going to be doing every second Thursday of the month. So every second Thursday of the month is when I do my 1-hour webinar. And everybody who joins my email list gets an invite to join that webinar. So these are the follow-ups. Now, of course, on top of them getting an email every single day, but those two, the phone call and the webinar, are how I make generally most of my sales. Here is the challenge that we have. So the podcast challenge is going to be to pitch a podcast every single day in December. Every day we're going to pitch at least one podcast, okay? Every day we're going to pitch at least one podcast. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, every day you're going to pitch at least one podcast that you're going to want to get on the thing. Okay. Hold on, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to have another call that's about to start, I think. Let me see. Hey there. Okay. Hold on one sec, y'all. Okay, so we're going to pitch one podcast every day. Then you're going to follow up with those podcasts that you're pitching, okay? Set a goal of, by the end of December, getting 5 of them to say yes. So that means out of 30 people that you're going to send out to, the goal is to get 5 to say yes. Does that make sense? 5. Now, the Book Profits Club special is that we're going to be... The special is that we're going to be uploading to the speakers and trainers. So this is for all BPC members, whether they are gold or speakers elite, a list of podcasts that you're going to go through and pick and decide which ones you want to actually pitch. So you're going to go through and pick this 1,000 plus list of podcasts that you're going to reach out to directly. We're going to make this available to all BPC members. We're going to then provide you with the automation to follow up with them. And we're going to have an accountability group for the December challenge. Because when done right, let's just pretend you get those 5 podcasts to say yes. You get on those podcasts, whether it be through December to January, even up to February. On average, let's just say each one of those podcasts have 100 viewers or listeners, right? 100 times 5, that's 500 people. If you close just 30% of them that are listening in, especially if this is a target audience, out of the 530%, that's 150 people. 150 people that are now coming into your email list, and you are able to now be able to build a better and bigger relationship as far as customer relationship. On top of that, that's 5 different podcasts where you're going to be able to repurpose the content. Many of us are trying to figure out how to have content, how to get content. If you use the interviews that you've been on, some of you guys have been on a show called Wealthy Wednesday, right? And so Wealthy Wednesday is a podcast that we do for our Book Profits Club members. You could literally go to the Wealthy Wednesday page, find that interview, take that content, copy it, put it into an AI software that will create certain excerpts that you can share on social media. It's not only just about promoting that platform or that podcast, that interview promotes you. So repurposing. There are people literally who pretend like they're being interviewed on podcasts, and they'll just do a video where they're looking off to the side and as if they're talking to someone, talking to no one, because they understand the value in repurposing what looks like you being interviewed, because where you are being recognized, people are paying attention to it. Recognition gets recognized. I'm telling you, people pay attention, and being on a podcast is a source of recognition. Okay, y'all. So that is going to be the challenge. So I'm going to do a more official presentation. I wanted to test out this software as well. Hopefully you guys truly enjoyed this training, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this amazing software. So what we're going to do right now is I just want to run over to the lounge. So you should be able to see, and then I got a training to do. I got to get off. But if you click on the lounge, I'm looking at y'all's chat. If you click on lounge, are y'all still here? And I am going to go to, we got the main stage. Okay, we're going to go to the group that's called the authors group. So if you click on the lounge, you can go to the authors group and join over there. So go click on lounge, and I believe this is going to allow you guys to pop up on camera. So let's go over there real quick. I'm not going to disconnect yet until, let me see. I might even just do it from my phone and see how that does. Let's see here. Join the authors group. Okay. Okay, lounge. All right, lounge. Here we go. Authors group. Join. Okay, there it is. Allow. Allow. Okay. And then I think I need to stop the main stage or something. Let's see here. Okay, there's some more people popping in. Hey, April.